Welcome to Wizard Team, a Black magical podcast for Black magical stories.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Robyn, and Porshèa embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. Today's bonus episode covers an autumn treat, Witchful Thinking by Celestine Martin.
And while we mentioned this is like an autumn treat, I mean, actually the book is set in the summertime, but it has
but it's still very cozy vibes.
It has cozy vibes, and the episode itself is the autumn treat for y'all. So don't play with me, okay?
Yeah. we're on the cusp of summer and like autumn. You know what I mean? Summer just ended.
It's peaking on the horizon.
It's still warm in California.
Yeah.
I mean, it is raining down in New York. New York is like, oh, it's autumn time. Say less. Let's go.
No,
and I'm enjoying.
We're not gonna get that until like November.
Yeah. I mean, I had a little bit of rain over the weekend, I think. Was it the week? Yeah, on Saturday it rained.
No, I was definitely saying 80s like next week.
It was 80 today.
Okay.
It's gone down to 60 today. And it's going to be like, it's going to hit the 70s, mid 70s later this week. But I think it's going to be around this. And I'm fine with it. I'm actually going to the book release for Kiss and Spell, the sequel to this book, on Wednesday. And I think that's the day it's forecasted to not rain for the first time this week. And it's going to be a moderately cool temperature. So I'm really hoping for autumn vibes the whole way through. But needless to say, I got yes. So this book is set, Witchful Thinking is set in the Jersey Shore, which the author is from New Jersey, and set during the summertime, like right around the time that school is letting out, because the main character is a teacher, and it's set in a place that is basically like, we've all mentioned how it gives like Halloween Town vibes, and then also like as the author note went out, mentioned that like she was inspired by Charmed, and I'm like, I can definitely see the inspiration from Charmed in this as well. The place is called Freya Grove, and I wondered, a question for all of us to start with is, does Freya Grove provide the shimmy to your season? Does it like help you get into like cozy autumn vibes whenever you're reading the book?
Yeah, I mean, it like shocked me numerous times when there's like moments in the book where it's like, it'll be like July, you're reading, and then it's like, now it's July, now it's August, and I'm like, oh, it's summer, duh, because it just does give very like autumny. I know that you said Charmed or Halloween Town, but I am a child of Gilmore Girls, and I was like Stars Hollow vibes. Stars Hollow was full of witches and stuff, and so and all of those kind of like, I mean, I that's New England and not New Jersey, but like all of that, like that kind of vibe, it always gives me fall, just instinctually.
Yeah, but I think like what Porshèa was saying, like when it's cozy, that's when you want to be cozied up too. So I think that's part of it. I also was like, oh yeah, it's summer. Like she would, like it starts in May and ends in like September or something. And so it's like, oh, okay, right, school's out. But I also kind of liked the, it's like it's a small town. It's like the things that you go to do in the summertime, there's like a festival, and then there's like your cookout, and like all the summer things were there. But yeah, it definitely just like still gave that like I want to be like cozied up in bed. I actually literally, I think, what was that, like yesterday before we were recording, and Porshèa was like, I'm wearing my onesie, and I was like, dang, I really feel like wearing my Udi. It's giving like I'm like still reading to like get ready for this recording. But it was before our Legendborn recording, and I was just like, yeah, reading this book just makes me want to like be like cozied up, and it's too hot here for that, but it was what it was giving for me.
Definitely.
Yeah, I love that Freya Grove is like a place that's inhabited by magical beings and creatures and stuff throughout. So like that definitely, like the Halloween Town vibes, like yes, it's like very the autumn and the coziness of it, but also just like the people that are like you're interacting with within this area, and like what like the level of different stories and potential for stories are going to be coming from this setting because of just the level of like magic and especially if it's like romantasy, like it's like a contemporary kind of setting for that, which I feel like I haven't had a lot of that for like Black romance, and so it's really fun for me that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm excited about like the potential for all the like romance to come in this setting.
And it was like very like ground, like it didn't feel like it could be someone of another race. Like there were these like specific moments that just like made it feel like a Black story that I really appreciated, while still hitting those like same beats, you know what I mean? It didn't feel like the characters could be interchangeable in that way. So yeah.
I was also nice. Really impressed by the world building, because when you have these like romantasies, especially when it's contemporary like that, like it usually feels, the ones that I've read, and that it's not been like a ton, but you know, like of like the few of them that I've read, it's always felt like the magic and stuff happens very like in the home, and you know, not that it's not like not that you don't see the magic, but it just doesn't feel as much of like Freya Grove is, you know, like she would mention often like creatures or goblins or the fairies or the gnomes, and like you could tell that they all had their own stories and they all were living life in this place, and it wasn't just, you know, the witches coming together in their living room and doing like witchcraft, and like I really
like the love interest is a merman, like there's so many different kinds of creatures,
and it's not, you know, and like I love the merman, I guess, trope, though I was very confused by like how it worked, because like he kept being like, you know, can't put a merman in a fishbowl type of thing, but then like his whole family was cozied up and like hanging out. I was like, I don't understand why. But yeah, like it felt very immersive, I guess is like the way to say it. Like the magic was like seeped into everything. And I really like that too. Like separate from the romance, the fantasy was like very in depth. And so like I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking on the world building more, I guess, and also like the small townness of it all, I think I see this most frequently in romance books, the small town setting, and that being like kind of like the small town aesthetic, the like mythology of small town living being like this Hallmark kind of version of small town living. And there have been more recent romance novels that I've read that have picked a bit more how like small towns aren't that great, you know. There are things that are not great about having everybody all up in your business. And I enjoy in this one that there's like effects of that in some of the character relationships, but there's also like because it's a magical society, there's just a lot of like you can kind of be in the mythos without feeling a way about it. Having someone who I haven't grown up in a small city town or whatever in Tennessee, it was really fun to see like parallels in those kind of relationships, and I enjoyed even more like the things that like are the things that make these settings exciting. Like everyone's going to be excited about a festival. Everyone's going to be excited about like the state fair or whatever being in town, because there's like not that much going on a regular basis. So whenever it's time to be like any up and everybody's in all hands on deck, everybody's really like if you're working for a business, your business is probably going to do something inspired by that thing. And then people are going to get involved in different ways. And so I really enjoyed how that whole like small town, kitschy, cozy festival event planning and like and inclusion and all of that. I just enjoyed how that's brought into the character work. And I enjoyed how it's like not just like a one-off kind of thing or even like the whole surrounding effect of the story. It just like it is woven into the story in a way that makes sense for the characters to be involved in it. And it makes it the way that the characters interact with like not only their own families but with like the town at large make a lot more sense, and kind of like give the place a bit more of like a place in your head when you're reading it.
Yeah, and I like too that like the magic of it is kind of an open secret. I think it says like pretty early on, like people come to this town, like tourists will come to the town with like, you know, ooh, we're gonna see, you know, like some weird stuff or like some, you know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't seem like magic is widely acknowledged in this world, but at the very least, it's like something you sort of know is happening or you don't really think about that much. And then you go to places like Freya Grove where it's like, very obviously, this is what they do. There's gnomes out here, like, locking people in their houses and stuff. So like yeah, it's just scene, it's like it's fun and it like yeah, that seems hilarious. But yeah, it's just like I think keeping it in the small town makes sense. You don't have to explain quite as much when you keep it small, and I think that makes sense for the kind of story it is, since it is like a romantic comedy sort of. It just makes it contains it, I think, in a way that the story needed. But yeah, it was definitely like I just was like reading it like I would want to live here. Like I'd want to be like in a place like this. Like it just feels like nice and like yeah.
I mean, and that's one of the things that like as someone who is I've recently just dove in head first into like the cozy fantasy genre, and this is more romantasy, but the reason why I like that, like these kinds of books is because, you know, we're currently reading Legendborn and like immediately I'm like, no, take me home. I don't want to be here. It's too stressful. And like, these are like where you can actually see yourself in this world and enjoying it. Like I can see myself in the Legendborn world. I can see myself in like Amari, but I also can see myself being stressed out and wanting to go home and scared out of my mind. And this is like, no, I could just like, you know, take my dog for a walk, you know, make sure that I feed my gnomes, you know, treat them well so they don't lock me in my house. And, you know, like don't neglect my familiar, my cat. And have like a good life. And like, it doesn't have to, you know, the stakes are low, obviously. Well, I don't know. The stakes of your heart are high, but like even the like, you know, like the book centers around this wishing spell, and there are parts of it where it's, you know, starting to feel like it's getting out of hand. But even that is like not. I read the stress in it, and I could see how it would be upsetting. You know what I mean? And it's like kind of putting strain on relationships, but it also felt like in the same way that like in your real life, you know what I mean? You start a business with your friend or you take on another project and you have that level of stress and stuff, but it still feels like, you know, you'll get through it. I really enjoyed that of that setting.
Right. It's not like end of the world. Like Camlan isn't coming, you know.
You're not the chosen one. You don't have to be
and like you're not going to die. You like, and you know, you might. I'm saying like low stakes in terms of like mortality, like not that, you know, having a, you know, getting your heart broken or, you know, losing a best friend is not, you know, those are high stakes, but it's not your mortality.
The whole world is gonna crumble from the relationship.
And there's always a opportunity to like build back better. Thanks, Joe Biden.
All right.
I love that phrase.
Speaking of seeing yourself in the environment and like having like, you know, the ability of it, like just like being able to chill and like just be part of what's going on, were there any places that were described in the story that you were like, oh, I definitely would want to hang out there, like that would be me up and down?
The spot that it wasn't a bookstore. I think it was like it was like a witchy shop or whatever, but then there were also books there, and that's like where she was trying to find the one to like undo.
It was like
her
a
wish
lending library with the store.
Yeah, but like that one was I liked that. I was like, that feels like a nice spot. I don't really go nowhere, so
I like the
like
the diner, because I always like a good diner, coffee shop, cafe. I feel like I would go there. It was more for me. It was like
nice.
the events, like the baking competition.
Yeah, the cakewalk.
The cakewalk. Like I would love that. That's like the thing where the book starts out and she's like, it's time for the festival, and it's like the highlight of my year. And I'm definitely, she goes and buys a bunch of tickets to make sure that she's going to go often. And I feel like the cakewalk would be that for me. Like, oh, it's time for the cakewalk. I'm going to make a good bid. I'm going to, who's doing what type of thing. And I thought that event was, I could very much see myself there.
You wouldn't enter? You wouldn't come in with talking about I'm gonna make a croque and
too much?
Can I say that as like a
ambitious.
Bake Off? No, as somebody who watches Bake Off, as soon as I saw croque and bouche, I was like, have you baked before? Like, what are you doing here? Are you for real?
Are you for real? I mean, I did like the idea
watcher,
that,
but being a Bake Off watcher and not actually a baker who's tried to make a croque and bouche before,
right?
Like you just like, it's like I am literally on the sidelines. I only know from the sidelines, so this is going to be a problem. But
and I love that, like,
I know it's going to be a problem.
Alex was like, I want to support you, but are you sure? Like,
I feel like this is the wrong way to go about what you're doing.
This is a bad idea.
Yeah. And I also like that because, if I entered, I'd make like a cake, maybe some cupcakes, more than likely cookies, because that's where I feel like I'm in my bag with the cookie. Mm-hmm. But I did like that part where Alex is like, are you sure? I think you can do it. You can for sure do it, but do you want that stress in your life, You're
already gonna be stressed enough trying to have a good thing to be judged at this cakewalk. Right. Like, why would you put the extra factor, trying to put a wow factor behind of a croque? Like, that's already stressful. Like, trying to make a croque and bouche on a day where there's no anxiety, you're just playing around in the kitchen, is already a problem. Trying to do it to get judged on? Why would you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't make a croque and bouche because I just don't like puff or like cream pastries in general. So that's not something that I would want to do, but I like applauded the effort. I also thought it was really funny that it felt like, I forget what it's basically their Bake Off equivalent. I forget the name of it.
Their group?
No, but
they had a show that they watched.
Oh yeah.
And the group is the Delectables, which I thought was adorable. But
it's cute.
I can also see like being like, oh, if I'm going to be in the Cake Off, then I have to make something like a croque and bouche, and everyone else being like,
right, if you're like watching that show,
like,
right, you could
you're too warped into this show. Like, you're not, not everybody's there. Like show up with a pie and you'll be great. Like, you don't have to do all of that. Yeah, I love that. I think for me, and this is going into the next question I had about like FOMO and or goodness, this is what I get for having all these windows. FOMO and or invoked a memory that you would like to revisit. I have not been to a state fair since I've lived in Tennessee, like as like a teenager. And I love me a good little like walking around deep fried food vendors while going and grabbing, like going on a random little ride that's probably not well restricted and is not related to all the codes that everyone should be following. Like, I'm down for that, and it just like I really miss that life. I don't know if I would ever be down for that life again, because post-COVID, I know people are not really playing like actually like masking up and doing all that stuff. And I went, I would just love to do it again. And I love me some like state fair funnel cake, like just like walking around with funnel cake, powder on your
hand. It definitely gave me, like, when I was in college, I used to work for my aunt, and she would like sell she has like a hair and body like products or whatever that she would sell at the flea market.
Body essentials.
And we were body essentials, but yeah, like but our booth was right next to this they did basically like classic like fair food, so it was like corn dogs, and being vegetarian, there were vegetarian corn dogs, and there was funnel cake, and like the problem now is I can't have gluten, because I know they have a storefront now, so I know where I could go get one. But unfortunately, that would just make me sick. But like, I definitely like reading her like eating funnel cake. Bro, please make a gluten-free funnel cake. I'll be all over it. But literally, like, just reading her eating the funnel cake, I was like, because I used to really like. I would always get the funnel cake when I was leaving.
Yeah,
like, no, I'm not eating it while I'm at the spot. I might get a corn dog and eat it like for lunch, but the funnel cake, I packed up.
Savor.
I'm gonna go get my funnel cake, and then I'm gonna go home. Like, it was just delicious. And yeah, I definitely missed that.
It was really funny because I don't know if you know this, Bayana. Your mom could probably tell you the story, but I got lost at our fair when I was little.
Oh yeah,
and I was lost for hours. Yeah, apparently, and it, like,
we passed it. Anytime we passed it, she's like, and Robyn got lost over.
It's like I traumatized most of my family that day. And my mom wouldn't let me go back to the fair until I was like 21 or something like that. So I went from like 2 when I got lost to like when I was like 21, and then she held my hand the entire time. It was really like,
oh my gosh.
It was really funny / sad, because I was like, wow, I really did a number on y'all.
Messed y'all up.
I messed them up. It's a big, like state fair. I don't know if it's a state fair, but it's a county fair, and it's like, they're huge.
You did that in the 80s among all the like kid snatching like stories that were coming out then. Like they were probably toe up.
Yeah, I really I put them through the ringer, but I remember but I was reading this and thinking like, oh, I would love to like experience this, or I would have, because now I feel like I might be like too old, and like I don't want kids running around and it's loud and outside and all that stuff. And I remember talking to my friends in Minnesota, because the Minnesota State Fair is like one of the bigger state fairs. It's like a huge deal. About like how like I don't really understand, like I know like I get like state fairs, everything's fried and you can get all this stuff, like I know that vibe, but I don't have any like tangible memories of that. And so in reading this, I was like, I could see this being like a really great setting for like a romance, or just like this like coming. So she like basically Lucy, the main character, is like not in a rut, but she just feels like there's not like a lot of excitement in her life, and she isn't doing, like, there's a lot of things that she wants to do that she's not actually doing, and she gets kind of like bogged down in her day-to-day life and doesn't have excitement or have these adventures. And so I could see that like being at a fair like that, sparking that like you know what, I'm gonna say yes, or this is my like summer of yes type of like feeling, because like that's the vibe that I got reading that. Especially like I love that it was like the opening chapter too, because it just felt like start of summer, all these possibilities. She's a teacher, so she has like a lot of time coming up. And I just, I really loved having that fair kind of be kind of the grounding point, or like the launching point of the whole story, because it felt very, just like hopeful, I guess is the best way to say that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, let's talk more about I guess I should have paused there for that. Let's talk more about Lucy and the dynamics between the characters. Because we haven't touched on that, and it's just definitely the time. I have listened to questions about all the relationship stuff. I guess we can start in on how did you feel about Lucy, and then how did you feel about the relationships that Lucy had with both her family and then people in the town, and then the main component here is her and Alex. How did you feel about all of that?
I liked Lucy for the most part. I felt like I liked her. I felt like she I think she blamed a little bit too much. So one of the things about this is that like they make this wish. She and her sisters and her cousin make a wish. Each make a wish. And so there's like a part where she starts blaming like everything that's happening on the wish, and I'm like, ma'am, some of this stuff is just you. Like, and there's something at one point where she's like, when she was blaming herself on the spell, like there were things where she was like, I don't know if the wish will let me do it. Like maybe the wish will have worn off by then and I won't be able to do it. And I was just like, ma'am, you can still do it after the wish. Like the whole point is that, and like she got to it eventually. It was like the point is that you wished for this thing, then you get the opportunities to do it, and then you step up. You know what I mean? Like Robyn was saying, it's like a summer of yes, but it's with magic thrown in. So that was like the only part where I was like, okay, now girl, like be serious. But for the most part, I liked her. I felt like she was very like she's had a lot going on. I was like, you bake and you home design and you're a witch and you like do tea readings and you're
a teacher.
And you're a teacher. Like all of this sounds exciting to me. Like okay.
And you're going to
and it's also really funny that like she was giving me very much like overachiever type A, because she's like, I don't do anything, and then she has like this laundry list of like interests and things that she wants to do, like running a 10K, and joining the baking.
Like I guess part of it was that she wasn't doing those things and she hadn't been doing those things in a while.
Yeah.
But to have that many hobbies is, whether you like fell off or not, is crazy to me. Like,
or to even like have that many, like
I aspire.
I feel like if
you know what I mean?
That same wish for excitement, it would be like, I like, traveling and then like possibly like going, like I like going to like pub trivia and stuff like that. Like, maybe it would be like joining a baking competition. That's something that I like to do, but I feel like I would have like two things that would be pulling me. She ended up with like a fellowship, and like I was like, there's a lot here. I don't know how much of that is the wish, except for the wish making, like the timing of it all.
Yeah, and there was like a point where she could the timing, and there were certain
she
things
could say no,
like say no to them. Yeah. So but like that, like at a certain point, it wasn't really. The
one thing I hated, I will say, is about like her in the like not blaming things on the wish, but like not knowing like what was a
part of the wish and what wasn't.
Yeah, what was a part of the wish and what wasn't. Was like before she switched, so she was going to wish, I think, for a soulmate maybe, or to like meet her, but then she just wished for excitement or something like that. But like then Alex shows up, or had kind of shown up before the wish, right? Like right before.
In like the first couple of chapters, Alex.
He showed up. Yeah, right before they did.
Right before they did the wish, and so I think she was thinking about Alex, and she was thinking about excitement and stuff. But then her being like, "Does he really want me, or is it the wish?" And I'm like, "You wished for it. Like you brought magic into this equation. Go for it, because you're never."
But
really
also, you didn't.
Know.
She didn't. Yeah, but also she didn't wish. Like if she had wished specifically for a soulmate or wished specifically for Alex, like her, then that's one thing, and would have been like a little weird. So I'm also glad that she didn't do that. Like, I'm glad that she was a lot like more, like she was open. She left it open ended. You know what I mean? And like that was included in it, but it wasn't like the only thing. But yeah, there were definitely like that was, and it was more towards the end, because to me by the end I'm like, ma'am, the wish is kind of done at this point. Like you've done the thing, you did the thing. Now it's just keeping that energy. But I
like that that's mostly tied into, I think as well, a lot of magic is rooted in like intention, and like you can see that in the story for how the magic is done here. And I really did enjoy that was not like a big hang up of like the crux of it, because I hate never romance is like on a crux or another. Like it's while she does have that a bit for Alex, and like, oh, he doesn't want to be here, he doesn't even want to like settle down, and I can't see myself leaving, but I do kind of want to get some things done. Like that was like a real conflict, I guess. Like you do know that like you don't want to be the person that's holding on to someone who doesn't want to be there. And I enjoyed that was like something that kept coming up. Like they kept like kind of questioning how they wanted to be in relationship with each other, and I think that's a sign of a good relationship, is that you're constantly choosing each other. And that was like that made for a good romance vibes. And I also enjoyed that the wish component of the story also was like a very good way to a quicker way, I guess, to get some understanding of her cousins and their personalities. And like what,
well, I think two of them were her sisters.
Yeah, well, they're like, I thought they were like, they're her sisters, but they're her cousins. Like she might.
No,
I think Ursula is the only one who's her cousin,
and the other two are her sisters.
The cousin. Okay.
So they're all cousins.
I don't know why,
but like 3 of them are sisters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So I just think it was fun that you see how like what they wish for, and that's like true for anybody. What someone wishes for shows you a lot about like aspects of their personality. And though we don't know like the full like a full understanding of what every person wished for, we have an idea. And how that's interrelated with like we see how Lucy's wish plays out, then I'm sure if we get to see everyone else's wishes play out, it's going to be similar kind of like questioning of like, ooh, was this wish affected, or is that me? Like kind of figuring that out as well.
Plus, and then there's also like it was established that the wish could take 2 weeks or it could take years. Like it really is however much time you need. And so I liked that too. It's like none of it is on a timeline. So really, if we do get, I know we're definitely getting the second book, but if we get the other 2 sisters, that could be interesting to see too. Like how long does it take for them to get their wish, and or like the aftermath of getting your wish kind of situation. Yeah. Like, was that actually what you wanted? Or
I also really liked one thing I think about Lucy that I really, really liked in terms of like is that she just told Alex about the wish too, like about the spell. And it wasn't like, oh, I can't tell him or I can't tell people, you know, and I feel like that adds like another layer of stress. Like you're not going around, she's not like being like, we did this wishing spell, you know what I mean? But like when they get, her and Alex are at, I think, the coffee shop, and there had been like, so another part of this book centers around like her high school reunion and the wish. I don't understand like what happened, but like sent in a class note for her, like an update on her life. And it said like she had found her soulmate and she baked croquembouche. And so like,
well, she had written like her friends, her sister and her cousin were like, you should write what you want to, you know, like a manifestation situation, but then not send it. But like, and then it ended up getting sent, but then the wish wouldn't let her like unsend it or like send a correction or anything.
So, but I did like that. Like, so her ex-boyfriend, she's kind of like dodging him throughout the story, and they have a run-in at the coffee shop, and Alex comes in, and he's like, "Oh, so this is your soulmate because of these class notes that were published."
Bro.
That whole scene was
I literally wrote, why would you say that? I was just like, no, that scene was great, but Marcus, I was like, bro, why would you say that? Why is that something you just ask somebody outright? Like, please be serious. Like,
because he told you to talk to me this way.
Shut up. Like
he was trying to like reassert their whatever, and then was like, well, he was hurting. I don't know if he was hurt. I have no idea. That the Marcus storyline was very strange to me, but I like that she just like came clean. Because I don't love like the romance tropes where they lie or they like don't tell the full truth and then they find out afterwards like, oh, you made a wish, you know. I don't love those, but I also like very much see why. I don't think me myself could like look at the dude who someone just called my soulmate and be like, okay, so what happened was I made the switch.
And also she has to like, that's still around the time where she can't really like, she has to find a way around it to explain it to him. So it's also, again, like with the intention, like she's like, no, I'm actually gonna try. Like with Marcus, she's like, I'm not even gonna bother like explaining to him what's going on here. But with Alex, she's like, no, I really don't want to lie. I want to like make sure that he understands that like some of this is a mess I got myself into. You know what I mean? Like I'm not actually out here with my soulmate or telling people that you're my soulmate or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I liked her. I felt like
I liked your relationship with the cousins too. Yeah. And the sisters. I liked their relationship.
And her cousin, like,
it very much though did read like these are setups for the next books. With like they would flood in and flood out, and you would see like their wishes. Like Lucy would ask for updates and stuff, and you'd get like little bits and pieces of it. And so it did very much not in a bad way, but it did very much read as like setups for future books, because then they would always like quickly turn it back to Lucy. But I think that you got a good sense of, I think, more of Ursula than the other two, but you did get a decent sense of Serena and Callie and who they are and their personality, like what they struggle with and stuff. And you could tell that they loved each other and like they were their own little coven, and I love that. So
yeah, and I love that they're like, we're gonna do the wish together, and like we do these things together. Like I liked that. I feel like Ursula, I oscillated between being tired of her and feeling bad for her.
Yeah.
And I also wish that Lucy would have like bucked up on her at least one time. It was just, that was the other thing, because I was like, their final confrontation, I felt like Lucy needed to be a little more like
forceful,
assertive.
Girl, what do you want? Like, yeah. And like at the end, she was like blaming herself for the situation, and I was like, you have done nothing wrong. This is all stuff that Ursula is projecting, and the family she's trying to marry into, like they're projecting all of this onto you. You actually haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
And so I appreciated after that when she talked to her sisters were also like that. So I'm like, okay, cool. Somebody in here is sitting here like, no, you're not the one who's tripping. It's definitely Ursula. I
did though appreciate that Lucy was like sympathetic to the fact that like Ursula's wish has gone awry, or has like gotten away from her. But I do think that
it's like that, but then there was some disrespect that it's like, while I sympathize and empathize with you,
I'm not gonna get run over by you.
And I'm literally trying to tell you that you have a choice and you don't have, like, I'm sitting here trying to help you and you're being disrespectful. Like, we're gonna have to handle that.
And we're done. And we're done. And we're done.
Hold up. We're not doing that. And then I'll get back to loving you. Lovingly, we're gonna have to.
But right now we're done. Like, we're done.
Yeah.
Go home. We're done.
Like there was like, that was the one thing I kind of missed from their relationship, is that Lucy didn't give nothing on her end. Like all the smoke was coming from Ursula's side, and I just wanted Lucy to get
I wanted a little bit more understanding too about like, so when we meet Ursula's fiance Lincoln, who is like the twin brother of Lucy's ex-boyfriend.
He was only in one scene, and
he's in one scene, and I hate him like instantly. But like, I also like didn't understand the smoke he had for Lucy. Like, why was he so
like
so
upset,
pressed and like upset about what Lucy was doing? And I don't know if it was supposed to read like he was mad because it didn't work out with Lucy and Marcus, and so like they wanted this whole like twin brothers, careaway sisters type of cute on paper vibe, but I don't think she adequately explained it. Huh?
I've read it as he was like I read it as Marcus. The last relationship they saw Marcus with was with her, and so he took it as like, oh, Marcus is the injured party here, and so I'm gonna have smoke for her for disregarding Marcus's feelings because. Clearly my brother's not in the wrong, it's her. I think
it was that, and then there was also some added thing about like they were like, oh, you always want to take the spotlight from Ursula type stuff, which that part was strange to me coming from him, like, especially because Ursula wasn't really like you could tell she sort of felt that. It wasn't like
that's what she was saying, unless she was saying it to him in his side or whatever, and it's like, is
and
that how she feels for real?
Bring it straight up to, like, yeah.
I feel like part of it too for me, I'm trying to think of like, oh man, let me think of the relationships here. For me, I think that some of it was that I like when seeing her and relating to Ursula and Callie and Serena, I don't know, it reminded me of me like whenever I used to hang out with my one of my cousins and my closest cousin and my sister. Whenever we were like, those are the trio. We were the trio that went into Spice Girls, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys all together. Like that was our whole like time and era where we were just like watching all the concerts and the recordings and all that kind of stuff. And I could see some of the dynamics between them kind of being like reminding me of like what they probably were like when they were younger together, and some of the like stuff that probably may have built up over time, showing up in their adulthood, and that kind of being part of like Ursula's like latent resentment towards Lucy a little bit, and also why Lucy responded to Ursula in the way that she did. Like Lucy's used to being the one that's nicer to Ursula than Ursula is to her, and it's just like a dynamic they continue to come back and back and back to, and I'm like, you gotta break that cycle, girl. We don't need to be here.
And it's also like you can tell Lucy, like, she's the oldest, she's the one who kind of like is taking on like her grandmother's role, like their grandmother passed away, and so like she's sort of carrying on that legacy too, and so I think part of her is also trying to keep that and like be gracious and all of that. But again, you can only disrespect me so many times, like before we gotta have at least a conversation. Like, and I will say, like, we can talk about the sequel more. I know there's like a question about it, but I am actually interested to see like Ursula's story and like her perspective and what was going on there, you know what I mean? Because again, like I felt bad for her most of the time, and it was just like the way she was coming at Lucy, I was like, girl, you need to chill, but also, are you okay? Like,
and I think that was like for me, I read it as like Lucy knowing that she was like, I felt like you could see that Ursula wasn't okay, and Lucy could see it, and so she wasn't internalizing the disrespect because it was like, this is coming from like a place of stress and whatever. But I do wish they would have interrogated a little bit, like, why are you coming at me so hard?
For me, go for someone else.
Right.
And like, you're not throwing the smoke at Callie or Serena, and like, it's all, you know.
But I also got the sense that Lucy felt like she deserved it in some way.
In some way,
for me, I felt like it was a dynamic that they had like built up over time. Like it was like Lucy was used to being the scapegoat or whatever. Whenever,
and I just wish that we had a little bit more background or a little more detail in like what exactly that was. Because I felt like even by the time the book ends, I still don't get it. Like I didn't get, you know, we don't know how, like, I don't know, like Lucy finds out that Marcus is in love with Ursula, which I was kind of getting those vibes like a little bit early, and I was like, so are you trying to get back with Lucy so that you can like ignore the fact that you're in love with Ursula, or like what's going on? Is she in love with
your second, like she's like your second choice? Like what's the problem?
And also, is Ursula even in? Does Ursula even feel
the same way? Right? But when Lucy like clocks it and then like confronts Marcus with it in a very sweet way too, like not in a like,
it was real like, chill.
It was very chill. And then and I understood that too, of like, oh, you're just trying to start drama, and it's like, where are we getting this? Like, you're trying
Where's that coming from?
How am I?
Yeah, where is it coming from?
Why am I in it? Why am I in it?
Understand.
I just asked the question.
And that's what like I didn't get, and I wish that we would have got, was like, did she do something, or was there a perception of something? Because even with like, it felt like, okay, so Ursula was organizing the cakewalk, and then Lucy makes this croquembouche, which Ursula's like, are you sure? Like, please don't make this thing, because I'm trying to like raise money, and like, it's a fundraiser and I want to, I'm trying to impress my future in-laws. And then Alex ends up buying that croquembouche for like a bunch of money. And then like Ursula raises her goal. And I could kind of see how it's like, okay, maybe you feel like Lucy overshadowed you, but in Lucy like succeeding in the cakewalk, you succeed. And then in the karaoke contest, like they have Lucy and Alex have a moment. Ursula actually wins the karaoke contest, but no one's really talking about that because of the moment between Lucy and Alex. And so I can kind of see that too, where like you feel like you're being overshadowed. But then it feels like most of we don't have like a moment in which Ursula's like, you're always trying to one up me, or even back in college or in high school, or back in, something that you're like, oh, okay, now I understand where all this venom came from. Whether or not you think it's like justified or not, but like I just like needed something more concrete, because otherwise it just felt like, why is Lucy trying to save this relationship, cousin or not? Like we can just call it, like go off and enjoy, because like the things that you're mad at me about, I cannot change,
What's funny to me is that it was like Ursula wanted to be the main character in the story when it's not her book, and that's hilarious. Like, it's just like, it's not your time. Like, you're not the main character yet, girl. Like,
be patient.
Like, give it a moment.
And I think that's like fine. I just and I'm hoping that in the next book is Ursula's book. She will be the main character. I'm hoping that we do get some satisfying resolution with her and Lucy, because that was one of the larger like things that I did not enjoy about this book, because I felt like it kind of just dropped, and I wanted some sort of like resolution. Or even like explanation. It just felt like it just ended on like this cliffhanger. And obviously it's, there is going to be a second book, so I'm hoping that that's where, that's where I'm putting my hope that we get something. But like it felt incomplete to me in a way that was like a little bit unsatisfying for this book.
Here on Wizard Team, it's no surprise that we love books. We also love supporting the independent bookstores.
With our bookshop affiliate link, you can not only get all the books on your TBR, but you can support indie bookstores and B&C at the same time.
And if you're not sure what you want, that ain't no problem. Check out our The Plot Thickens list full of recommendations from none other than Porshèa herself.
Head to www.bookshop.org/shop/BlackNerdsCreate to treat your shelves.
Treat your shelves.
Oh, that's nice. That's clever.
Oh my goodness.
That's clever.
Can we talk about Alex though?
Yes, Sonson, we have not spoken about Alex.
We haven't even talked about the
I just
actual
want to talk
romance.
about like Alex, like not even
50 minutes talking about.
But that's, I will say, I just want to know that the book is so well, like, it's so much given in the story that you actually are interested in the multi, like, dimensions
so many
of
other things.
The characters.
Yeah.
So you're not just, like, on the romance the whole time, which I really enjoy. Y'all know my vibe is, like, I like romance fine enough, but I like to have a bit more than romance in my romance book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also
Agreed.
think that, like, every time people do add more than just the romance in a romance book, if you're gonna do it, don't make the extra stuff feel like a throwaway. And it definitely did not feel like that in this book, because there are romance books where you're like, this B plot you do not care about, so how am I supposed to care about it?
Right. But yeah, Lucy and Alex, I liked the whole like it's giving like childhood besties, the one that got away type, like those tropes. And they had really good chemistry, like from jump. even just them having like conversations, like, oh yeah, y'all definitely should be together.
I have never thought about the like little mystic card machine thing being a romantic plot point moment, and yet they pulled it off, and I was like, what is going on? Is this a little machine that I've seen like in like Are You Afraid of the Dark that gives you like a scary start of a story?
It definitely gives you horror vibes most of the time.
Moment. Yeah.
I mean, well, that isn't that a part of Big? Anyway, one thing I just want to talk about, like just Alex specifically, and not Alex and Lucy. I didn't really get. I mean, I loved the merman, like descriptions and stuff that we got, but I also didn't really get, in the same way like I didn't get Ursula's venom for Lucy, I didn't get Alex's commitment issues as being tied to his like mermanism or mermaid. I don't know, because like his parents are together, have been together.
Well, they're together, but they're mer people, and
they're both mer people.
They moved around a lot, like before they, you know what I mean. So I understand.
That's part of his
like there was it's the like army brat type thing, right? Where you like never get to settle down anywhere, and so it just like his parents eventually settle down, and his brother is chilling, but I don't know that he's in a relationship, so maybe that has something to do with it too. Is like maybe if Lucy was a mermaid, then
is that like not the like I got the army brat part of it and stuff, but like the idea of like I cannot settle down, and it's like, well, you actually do have an example of your parents who did travel and got, you know, kind of like, I guess you could say like sowed their wild oats, but not really, because they had 2 kids by the time they like settled in Freya's Grove. They bite like,
but they didn't stop in. They didn't stop in Freya Grove though, because he only was like hanging out with Lucy for like a year or so in high school, and then left. So then
he left. No, he was only there for a couple of years. But he left, but they hadn't.
He left, and his parents stayed, right? So
because he graduated from there, so like he got there like their junior year, and was there for 2 years, and then was out.
So
I could see at that age for him that you could have internalized it.
Yeah.
No, and I
could see at that young age.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. Like, I understand where he got all of that from, but like what I was saying was like every example that we have of that, like it's based in something, but then you see that like eventually they make the decision.
Maybe he just don't think he's there yet. He's like, that's a 40-year-old thing, and I'm still.
I wish that Alex
it was written
as a I'm not sure I'm there yet, or it's too soon, or like we get like, you know, maybe he has like cousins or something that he like is talking to who are still on the move, right? Because it's like I'm really interested in his brother, and I hope his brother gets a story in some way, because like his brother like gives up mermanism completely, except for I guess when he has to.
Do it.
He doesn't go into the ocean, right? So it's like 2 separate reactions to moving around a lot, right? It's like, I'm just gonna embrace the merman moving and like, going with the ocean,
to do,
thing. And then, or I'm going to like completely reject it and only, you know.
For me, that was part of his. For me, that was part of my understanding of Alex's understanding, though. I thought that he saw it as either the only way that he was going to be able to settle down is if he was with another mer person, like his parents, because you either give it up to be with someone who's not a mer person, or you are with a mer person who can understand having to be in the ocean. Those are the 2 options. And so I just thought he could not see himself finding someone who would be okay with him having to go into the ocean frequently, like continuing to be a mer person and needing to splash around or whatever, and then come back home. Like, I just think he just couldn't see that being a thing, because the 2 examples he has is 2 mer people or no mer people at all. Those are the 2 options he saw around him.
Yeah, I do think at a certain point, like as the story progressed, I think I was more like, but again, it's like one of those things. I called him a dummy in my notes, like 3 times, which is like also part of the like romance novel thing where they're just being very obtuse about the situation, and you obviously as the reader see it very clearly, and you know what's going to happen because it's so formulaic. So you're sitting here like, bro, catch up. What's going on here? So yeah, there was definitely like some of that for me where I was just like, all right, dude, like very clearly. There was like a moment where he like describes Lucy as like the water and it's like unexplored and all that stuff. I'm like, girl, like this is your adventure right here. Like, what are you doing? You thought it. Let's internalize it. Like, come on. What are we doing?
Right, and I think for swim in her waters is what you're saying. Is you going to swim like, in her waters.
Do what you said, you know?
But, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe. And I think that like I understand like these dogs. I understood. I don't think that it was executed as well as it could have been. In terms of like you read it in one way, Porshèa, I read it in another. I read it more in like the way that Bayana's describing it as like the trope of like you're just being really obtuse and you're not accepting what is clearly in front of you, what all the signs are pointing to, and even your internal monologue is telling you this feels like home and I want to stay and I don't want to go, and you're just being like very stubbornly like I have to go. And I just at towards the end I was like, okay, you're pissing me off. Like this has gone on too long. Like just sit down and have a conversation with your parents, have a conversation with your brother, like explain the fear, explain, you know, what you think, because it was more of a like I can't hope for this thing because I will lose it. Like don't hold on to something because you will lose it. And it's like, but you have examples of that not being true or it looking different, like than the non-mer, like, you know, the looking different for humans or witches than it looks for mer people, but it is still something that can exist in mer people, you know, maybe not the sticking in one place. I mean, I understand that being an issue, but like, then just say that. Right.
I was gonna say he was afraid to try. That's an ongoing romance trope that I'm always with, and the angst part I always get it. I'm like, you're afraid to hold on to something because then it can be snatched away from you. So you just try not to hold on to the thing. Like
but then he kept going on about like how with his ex fiance it didn't work, and then at one point it's like, well, I didn't really try to make it work, and it's like, well, it didn't work. Duh. It's very much a trope thing that like. I understand and like I have read hundreds of times, but it was just and it's also a trope thing that bothers me every single time. Where I'm like, you're being willfully obtuse, and that's fine. Hi, Queen Avoider over here.
But cut it out at some point, yeah.
But not even that, but like just say that. Like,
yeah.
Just say like I don't want to try. I'm scared of what's
going
to
happen. Afraid
not
to try
like,
or whatever.
Not that like it could never be, or like it's just unnatural. And no one in the history of like mer people has ever worked out. And I'm like,
and it's one of those things where like you see he keeps telling himself this, but also the way that he's like acting with Lucy in real life is really the opposite of what he's telling himself.
Yeah.
In terms of just like, I could never do this, I could never do that. And then you're like the most attentive and like open and communicative, like with her. And y'all are like not even trying to put a real label on it. But also I'm like, y'all go together. Y'all are married. Like, let's cut to the chase.
And then it's like, just have the conversation at a third point.
Right.
Or go see a therapist. I don't know what to tell you, dude.
I know what you're saying is like you want it written in the book. I'm just think it's funny that like, I don't know, I just feel like everybody's like this where there's parts of yourself that you don't recognize. And I feel like we've had this conversation with you before, Robyn, where like we were at something and we're like, oh, I admired this aspect of your personality. And you're like, I'm that? Are you sure? And it's so I feel like I like that about like he's solidly thinking this thing. And it's like, sir, but how you're acting though, like you are embodying all the things you say cannot be. And I just, you don't see yourself, and I can tell, and I need you to take a moment, step away, and look in. Yeah. So maybe it's something he
look
just
at the man in the mirror.
Right. He just needs someone else to reflect to him. And that's why I feel like it would have been maybe if he had a character that was like kind of closer to him that we saw, like he was not Lucy, just like I see
like,
you.
I kept thinking his brother was gonna be the one to like call him out on it, and like his mom kind of does at the end, but like I just needed there to be like he finally agrees, like, no, this is what I want, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna try. But like it takes like his mom like saying like I saw the future. I saw this thing.
Right.
And so it feels like he's then just like accepting his mom's vision and not like actually being like, I am not
aha moment
doomed to lose things. Like, I don't know. I just wanted that aha moment on the paper. But I also thought that Alex was like such a great love interest in terms of like what you guys are saying. Like he's very attentive. He's like supportive without being condescending, and like also being like you can do whatever you want.
But is this a good idea? Like,
let's be for real.
If you tell me yes, like I'm legitimately asking this question. If you tell me yes, bet I'm with you all the way.
But you showing up here with hot sugar burns on your hands, and I just feel like we need.
And
to
he doesn't even say "I told you so," which is
just like
concerned.
Like
I would have been like, "Ma'am,
this is normal for you. This is supposed to be. This is okay." Okay.
I really thought that he was going to like show up, knock on her door, and be like, I can hear you, or I can, because they're neighbors, like across the street neighbors, or something, like, I can feel your panic, like I'm here to help type of thing. I like the way that she wrote it instead of just like him waiting for her to show up. Like,
right. Hope everything's okay.
You got it, but you did it.
Right.
It was stressful, but you.
I hated how, like, oh my gosh. So this is what I love about Ink's stories, is where she's, the pride she has, she's like, you can't sign, it's a pity vote. I don't want you to like be my first person. And then she's over here, I'm gonna entertain this professorial looking guy.
Oh my god.
And it's
dumb. Like well, she said, I am going out with this guy, but let me go stop by Alex's house. And then you told him that you were gonna. I was like, shout out to the gnomes, because she was on some silly stuff. She was on some silly shit, and I needed somebody to just dead that.
I did though appreciate her being like, I appreciated her kind of trying to protect her heart in that way of like,
no,
he's not going to stay and I'm not going to make him stay. But it was like, dude,
but you don't even know what you care about this guy.
He's still next door. You do not care about this man right now. Like, deal with it once he leaves, and then maybe call up this guy. Because right now, this is feeling not gonna work. It's not gonna happen.
You're so it's rude. It's rude on both sides, because like very clearly you only have eyes, and like your attention is really only on Alex. So to be texting this other dude like you're not is like you're fooling yourself. You're fooling him. It's just wait. You know.
Just wait.
Yeah, and I appreciate she's also like, I need to show him that these goodies aren't on the table, that he can pick up anytime he wants. Like, I have options, okay? Right. I am not going to just be sitting around here for you to make up your mind that you want to make it a go. Like, I have prospects and options, even if they're not the best of options, and I don't really care about them very much. I can make myself care if I need to.
Right. She got Marcus still trying to spin the block, so she's got people. She's not just out here lonely. I also I liked the lake scene a lot.
Yeah.
Like just like the mood and like the atmosphere and like all of that was great. And then like I kind of wished like there was the whole thing about touching his tail and how that was like super like important,
personal.
And I kind of wished that he had reflected on that sooner.
Yeah.
Because you can kind of see it, like, because the scene is from Lucy's perspective, like you kind of see him not freak out, but you know what I mean, just like have a reaction to it, but then he doesn't.
We don't hear his perspective.
Reflect on it in his next. Until his brother like brings it up.
And it's like way later, and you kind of have to like go back in your brain, like.
Yeah, and like when it gets brought up, I read it and I was like, oh, that's cool, but I kind of wish it had been sooner. But yeah.
And like, even when he's like, you know, fighting with himself about whether or not he's gonna stay or not, like having the like, but she touched my tail with such reverence, or I would love to her to touch my tail again, or whatever. Just to show that it was like, it felt like a big moment as you were reading it, but then just to go back to. It was very matter of fact in the way that it was written. Like he goes and he's like goes for a swim and like how his tail shows up or how it works or whatever appears. I like the way that it was written because it's also like in terms of like world building or like how mermen work and stuff like that. Like I just really loved kind of seeing that because you hear them talking about like his scales and, you know, his eyes,
his hair
and stuff like, and so you can get the sense of like him walking around on 2 feet that you know that he's different. He's not human, but I just really like that theme in general for like multiple reasons. But I love the gnomes. Can we talk about the gnomes? I love the rules. You know how I am about rules, and social etiquettes. I love it. Like you gotta feed them and acknowledge them, but not too much, and they'll help you. But you don't treat them right, they're gonna mess you. They're gonna lock you in a house.
They sound like cats.
Them a pizza. They do sound like
they
cats.
sound like cats. Like don't let them think.
I love how they got upset because he didn't feed him, but then he didn't feed them. But then once he did, they like left him a thank you note.
Yeah. It's like Sour Patch Kids commercials where they're like,
it wasn't like a you better had. It was like, thank you.
And then they're sweet.
And then it's sweet.
No, it was very cute.
And I just like, I like too how she was like, you ain't feed your gnomes? Oh God.
Right. Like, you ain't know? You lived here before. What's the problem? Like, what kind of barn were
what
you
been doing over here?
Right. No, for real. And I can we also, okay, I just feel like his parents
are so
was
cute.
Just sitting there like, they're very cute, but if you bought me a house as a gift and I gotta figure out how to pay the mortgage, is it a gift? And it might be jinxed. Like
how was it bought? Like how was it bought?
That was my thing.
I just had
was bought means mortgage is
about
paid.
That.
Like
if I had to pay if this is a gift,
like if
no,
I gotta pay for
me
taxes,
another bill.
If I gotta pay for taxes, I got it. Like I understand that. Like I gotta pay.
You gave me a bill and renovations.
Got the down.
So I'm very confused.
The down payment was the thing,
I guess, and I guess like. He's gonna settle down there or whatever, but I was definitely like, especially the first scene when they were like, surprise, we got you a house. Like, but as it went on, I was less concerned about it. But in the beginning, I was just like, now why would y'all do this?
Yeah, I also think that it was very like he was also getting like they were kind of using his non wanting to settle down thing. Like it was like, oh, just flip it. Like like they were like, do you really have to worry about a mortgage? Because are you actually gonna stay? Like, you know what I mean? Like they were like, yeah, flip it. And I think that was them testing to see if he would actually flip it or not. But again, like financially, if it's a gift, it's paid for.
And I shouldn't have to. Yeah, like I shouldn't have to be going to the bank to see what I owe. Because the idea is that's a gift. I don't owe anything.
The only thing I should worry about is taxes and property owner crap. Like I don't. Yeah. What is this? But I enjoyed their relationship as a family.
And I also think that like it was a good way to show the like ways that that merman chaos can manifest. Like it doesn't have to be where like once they settle down, now it's like, ooh, we got these kids about to meddle. And like
yeah.
Like what is Alex up to? You know what? I'm gonna mess with him real quick. Hey Alex, we got you a house. He gets there. Actually, we didn't buy the house. We just put the down payment on.
We
You got
just
the
put
rest
the
of it, right?
payment on. It's in your name, but that's it.
That's it.
I mean, the down payment is a big deal. I would appreciate it, but I also am someone who wouldn't mind having a house. Alex was like about to cry at the table. Like,
I don't even want a house.
You don't want this.
He was like, is this transferable to other places? Because I don't want to be here.
If you like know that I want a house, that's a baller gift.
That's a different
Thank
thing.
you.
Yeah, that's a
if
great
you give me
gift,
a huge
but
leg
if I
up.
don't want it. But it's like, I don't want the house. I've never asked you for one. I've never
never hinted at settling down to get a house.
No.
And it's funny because it's not like more people, like, he's not shown that more people have like abilities that the witches tend to have, which is like prediction and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like his mom was like, well, I had a dream and you lived in this house, and so you know how my dreams are predictive, but what, like she was just like, nah, here you are. And I'm like, that's hilarious. Before we move to like the final questions, I wanted to see, are there any other townies you wanted to talk about, including the Walker family or whatever? Because I know that was like a thing.
I disliked all of the Walkers.
Yeah,
I will say
they were pushy and like
bougie,
and the mom was like a bridezilla, but it's like, you go have a daughter, because this isn't.
Come on.
You know what I mean? Or like, go make your son feel invested in this wedding. And why does it have to be moved
wedding
up?
6 months. You moved the wedding up 6 months, and your son isn't even invested. And you
probably moved the wedding up because you saw your son was not invested, and you wanted to get this over with as quickly as possible. And you got this
soon-to-be daughter-in-law like literally about to pass out from stress.
Like, while she has to also like plan this cakewalk, and you know, like it just felt like they were very pushy, and I know that we'll get more when we get to Ursula's story with Kiss and Spell, but like it just felt like y'all don't like or approve of her, so you're trying to shape her into someone else. And are you trying to shape her into Lucy, and that's why she's got such an issue with Lucy? Or are you trying to, I don't know, but like, what is the problem?
Do you just enjoy having someone under your thumb that you just know that they'll follow along with whatever you say, and you just enjoy that? Like, it's a lot.
And like, the mom was the mayor, and I got the sense that like,
what are you doing in mayorally? Like, what are your duties?
But I also got the sense that like she was like liked as a mayor, and then they would talk about the mayor, and then they'd talk about the mother-in-law, and I was like, these are two totally different people. Like, or I don't know. Like, it was just like I don't know. The Walkers were a mess. I will say I loved the hardware store.
Like, I was going to say that I love the hardware store employees.
Oh yeah,
I like the
daughter
diner,
with
like the
like,
servers and stuff.
Psychic.
I like the people in the town generally. They're all pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the daughter of the hardware store is a psychic. She was like,
I'm not selling you this thing that you're not going to use. And I was thinking about like how when you go to, like, for me, like a hardware store, or like especially like a mechanic or something like that, and you, I don't know. And I love the idea of like the psychic being like, I'm not selling you that because I know you're not going to use it. I know it's a waste of time. Like, I will sell it to you if you insist, but like, it's a waste of time. And like, thank you.
That's another thing I never would have thought about, being like you never think of psychic being a hardware store like worker, but it makes sense. Like, you need someone who'd be like,
this isn't gonna work for your space.
Girl, you got 4 kids and you're trying to pick up a nail gun. Put it down.
It's like, oh, your woman is gonna really like this wallpaper. I don't have get this wallpaper. Like,
I said what I said.
I appreciate that.
I enjoyed it a lot. Okay, so final questions. When would you reread this book?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would. Yeah.
I
don't know if I have anything else to say. I just feel like I would. Like, there will be times when I want those vibes, and I definitely would reread it.
It's annoying to me that it's set in the summer, because I definitely it doesn't matter what time of the year or whatever, I would pick it up. But it was that kept being a point for me where I'm like, if it were just set in the fall, simply just set in the fall, then every fall I'd be like, okay, I'm coming back. Like, it's time. Yeah. Like, I would like pull up all my candles, my fall scented candles, like, oh, cracking this book open. It's time. Yeah. But it works out. And I did give it like a brief read through because I read it when it was released last year. Is that time right? Am I right? Yes. And I didn't give it a full reread because I'm like, I am just gonna simply just do. I feel like I remember enough, but apparently not. And I did read Kiss and Spell, so I was like, I should be fine. I should be great. Yeah. But I would definitely reread it. Just not this year. Just give it a little skim. I think especially once the full series is out. Depending on how many books we get in the series, I would definitely start.
I hope we get all 4.
I hope we get a lot of different people. So I would love to hear from the hardware store if she gets one.
I would love to get all of them. But
I feel like the hardware store. I feel like
I hope at least we get
I'm like, novellas are fine. Novellas are fine. Short stories are fine. I will take those as well. I just want to get the full.
I feel like we'll get Horatio and the hardware store woman together. That's the vibe I'm getting. I was trying to figure out like who was who.
Oh yeah, because like she was very they had a little moment. I forgot about
They had a moment.
I love how we're just like trying to matchmake people from like like
I know
they're gonna get together.
Yeah. Right, because then it wasn't like, was that Serena and like the dude Felix and like her sister Lucy and Callie were just looking at him like,
yeah, the best friend.
Interesting. Yeah. See, we're
like, things y'all still on this?
There are things that could happen, and so yeah, I'm definitely like, I'm into the series for sure.
Also, I don't think we got a lot of it in this book, but I think we got like a little hint of Ursula's sister that works in a coffee shop.
Oh, that's her sister.
She ends up working at the coffee shop. It was like a tidbit. It was like a little tidbit. And we see more of her in Ursula's story, and I'm like, I just want to see all the stories, and I'm sure, I'm sure Celestine is probably like, me too, contracts, and I'm like, I get it. That's why I'm like, whatever we get, I'll be happy with. But I would definitely like, once the full series is out, I would definitely would not mind returning to this first book and then going through them all again. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I
definitely think that like I loved Freya Grove like the most out of every element of the story. I was like, even like I liked Lucy and Alex, I liked their chemistry together and all this stuff, but like the thing that really like stuck with me was like the setting and the place, and so
people make up the place pretty well. Like only in a small town hardware store would you have someone who's like gonna be chummy enough to be like, girl, you don't need, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna get that from like New York and the city. They're like, girl, buy whatever you want. It's your money, and it's my store selling products. Do what you want. And I think you're right. Like, Freya Grove really is the magical appeal there. And I hope like a big hope would be like if we do get to see this Freya Grove come to life like on TV, like on the screen. That would be nice.
That'd be really cute.
What about the series overall? Are y'all excited about the next book in the series? Specifically on Ursula, after you got big not liking vibes from her.
Yeah, I was like very
because I want to know. I want to know what was going on with you, girl. Like, please, let's figure this out, because I'm like I said, like I'm concerned, and also the disrespect can't stand. But like, I want to see how she was feeling from her perspective. I know it's like after the fact, but still, like, I'm sure there's like a reflection. So like how she was feeling like in the moment, and then also hopefully can like reconcile with Lucy, because I also did like their relationship, at least from like the positive parts that we saw. I liked that. So when I saw that it was her, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to see what she's gonna deal with, because she was going through it.
Yeah, I feel like that with me too. So on a much lower scale, like Thorns and Roses, there was the sister character who was like, what is you on? Like, I hated her. And by the time we got around to her book, I was like, I need to know, like, I need to understand you better because I do not understand how you were so hateful. I'm not like that, like, it's not like that with Ursula, but it's definitely like, I don't know if I'm rooting for you right now. But if in your story you eat and enjoy your huge slice of humble pie, and I get a sense of like what, like I can understand you better, I think I will really enjoy it. So it's like, it's very much like I need to figure out what's going on there. Which is different than like, I mean, it's the first book, obviously, but like, I'm just rooting for Lucy the whole time. I feel like when I start to read Kiss and Spell, like, I don't know if I'm going to be rooting for Ursula until maybe like the third act, after she takes some accountability. It's like, depends on when that.
Right. And she's getting mixed up with the Faye character, right? So like, that's never a straightforward relationship.
I know. I'm excited about that too, because I really thought that, like, you're reading it and stuff, and I figured like, oh, maybe they're gonna have a swap at the wedding and she ends up marrying Marcus instead or whatever. And then I read the Kiss and Spell and I'm like, there's a Faye, the whole nother man. It's not any of the men.
A whole nother dude.
So I'm also excited to see how that plays out.
I'm excited for you to see the Faye setting that is part of Freya Grove that we did not get to see in this book. So you get to see like there's a Faye setting or two that like I'm like, I would like to hear.
I like that. And I thought we didn't see, because like Alex's brother is like a realtor or something like that, and like so he was also talking about like different neighborhoods and like with the vampires and like all that kind of stuff too. So like I just definitely felt like, it gave, because of the small town vibes, it didn't matter that we didn't get to see all of those places, but like I'm also excited to see more, just like more of the Grove as well. So yeah.
Also, shout out to all.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I figured out how I'm gonna do this now. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we should get into real MVP. I said Lucy. I only called her Nummy once. So I feel like, and I just really liked her. Like, she was just like a cool girl, like, or a cool woman. Like, she just had, I don't know, she just had a lot. Again, the number of hobbies that she acquired in the span of this book is crazy. I love that for her.
And accomplished so much.
But yeah.
For her.
And she was just like I feel like she was also very realistic about how she was going to approach their relationship. Obviously, her heart got involved and it wasn't going to work out the way she said it was going to work out. But she was like very mature about it, I think. And yeah, I just liked her.
I also picked Lucy. I think Alex is a close second for me because I actually kind of like, I really related to both of them, how they came into the relationship. But I also, I don't know, I could have picked any one almost except for like the Ursula and the Walkers, because I really like all of the characters. Like if it just had a bit more with them, I probably could make a solid reason why they were like the support that Lucy needed in a moment of crisis, or you know what I mean? But overall, I think that Lucy's a main character that like main charactered well, and it's interesting. I'm not spoiling anything for next book, but it's interesting how she is not part of the book in the sequel, but then also is part of the book in the sequel. And in a way that doesn't take away from it being Ursula's story. And I think that like her ongoing role in the series, probably being in the same way, like just having a presence without actually being there for too much, would be interesting to me, because I would always like to hear about the characters I started the series with throughout the series. And she's one of those characters that, like, there's sometimes that will happen and I'll be like, I don't care actually what happens to them. And I do actually care to hear what happens to Lucy and Alex over time.
Right.
I went back and forth. chose Lucy, and then I chose Alex. And then as we were talking, I was going to be like, shout out to Oliver, class secretary, because he was like really sending out them updates and making sure
was that Oliver?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was. Is it not?
It was like Quentin or something.
Is it Quentin? Quentin is wrong. I don't know where my book
Let me go
is.
to the. I just saw the first email. Wait, let me go check. I just saw it.
I put my book down somewhere, and then it got eaten by my couch in our recording. So,
as long as it wasn't a dog, we're good. You know.
No, it got eaten by the couch. Oh, here it is. Okay.
It was Quentin Jacobson.
Okay. Well, Quentin Jacobson was just very dedicated to his position as class secretary. I just went through this with like talking about high school reunions and stuff, and I was like, I don't think I could care enough to do any of this.
For high school, no. For college is a maybe.
Even for college, I don't know. If I don't keep up with you naturally, organically, I don't think I care. I'm sorry. But yeah, I just really enjoyed like every time Lucy was like, okay, I'm getting a handle on this. Here come Quentin with just a reminder.
Right.
Hey, Grover.
Those goals he was setting.
And then
he takes that job very seriously. I'm like, what's his actual job? Because I know he doesn't get paid for this.
That's what I'm like. There are people who like this is a honorary MVP for these people who are not a-holes. If you're a-hole version of this, it's not applied to you. But if you are not a-hole, the people who stay in their like hometown and actually are like the galvanizers of like support events, like making sure there's fundraiser for the kids or whatever to get back to school supplies, like having like hosting fish fries and like pulling the class stuff together, like real MVPs, because I could not sustain that momentum during school, like while I was in it, like for too much. And I was like, I think I was my class secretary my senior year. Like I could sustain it for some things, but you're not going to catch me doing stuff as adults like together. No, we won't be doing that. So y'all really got it, because I do not have the forthwith to be that sociable and care for that many people. So honorary MVP to you.
My dad's high school reunion was this Saturday, and my mom ended up going by herself, even though that wasn't her class. And then she was telling us about all the people who showed up, then it wasn't their class either. And I was thinking, like,
they went to the same school?
Yeah, but my mom is a year younger than my dad. But there was one lady who shows up, and she didn't even graduate from that school.
She doesn't even go here.
She literally doesn't go here. My mom was like, oh, do you remember her? And my dad was like, she wasn't in my class. And my mom goes, she wasn't even in our school. It's one thing for my mom and her friends to roll up a year early because they were a year younger, but knew all those people. And then there's another lady who came and she was like 3 years removed from the high school. I'm like, I don't understand these people. I don't understand this life at all.
They're like, we just want to see people from this class. The people in this class, we like were my buddies, and I want to see.
Yeah, them. We mess with them. But, so there's a party. They're gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. Kind of vibe. And I was thinking about how, because they're talking about, oh, so and so did a really good job or didn't do a good job, and I was like, I don't know when I ran for student government, I wasn't like secretary or anything like that. But if someone told me that like 50 years later I would be on the hook for a party. Like, no, this is a lifetime.
They told us whenever we were running there, like, if you're the president or whatever, you want that to be someone who's going to be in the town, who's going to stay here, because that's going to be your person who's going to run your class reunions. And the person we voted for did not end up staying in town, and it's not the person who runs our class reunions. It's someone else. It's hilarious.
See, but it's like, how am I supposed to know? I'm 18.
Nicole. Right.
And to show my age, that was pre-Facebook. So like that wasn't even on the radar as a thing that would be a way to galvanize and organize people. It was really literally just like, you're gonna have to find someone who's gonna stay in touch with people. And then Facebook came out, and that all was like as if. So like they organize stuff. Gosh, I think my first class reunion was organized by someone who stayed in town, and it was just like a mess because I feel like they're like organizing wise, we didn't know who was running what for a minute, and then once we finally figured out who was running stuff, it was like, I'm like, I wasn't trying to go in the first place, and then I hit up my friends. I'm like, are y'all going? They were like, no. And I'm like, well, I'm not going. If they're not going, I'm not going. And they live there. Like, I'm not. Why would I do that? No,
I didn't even get invited to mine, which was hilarious because I'm still best friends with my friend from high school, and she was like, "Oh, did you see the thing?" And I was like, "No." And then I was like, "Shout out to me
on Facebook.
Way to go!" And I'm not on Facebook, but even if I was, I think I was still using, or I could at least check in on. I mean, I can still check it on Facebook now, but like, I can't tell you the last time I was on there, but I didn't even get an invite. I think they forgot that I went there, and I was like, "Good, look at me and my brand being really strong." Because I also
your brand of not being here. Like, yeah, I don't go. I
don't remember none of these people. I remember like 4 people I went to high school with because I still talk to them. I don't think high school reunions are going to be a thing anymore, too, because of social media. It's like, I don't need to like catch up with you. I know what you're doing. You're on my timeline. You're on my, grid feed. Congratulations.
What is hilarious is that the friends that still live there, and this is such a tangent, but the friends that still live there, like if you're not like on Facebook, they're like, you're not even in the ecosystem. They're like, you don't even want to be part of this society, do you? And I'm like, why would I put stuff on Facebook? That was so 2007, and it's 2023. Why would I do that?
Yeah. Okay, we should get to benched. We
did tangent.
Went off on a thing. Lincoln. Like all of the walkers, but Lincoln specifically, that one scene.
Lincoln deserves it.
You're doing entirely
He really came in on
I was just like
it was
because
you were absent.
He came in on a wrecking ball.
Come on, because he was absent for the first part of the book, and so I already was like, "What is the groom doing? Nothing." Oh, I already.
Why is Marcus the one tasting the cake?
And then
literally tasting the cake,
and then came in on smoke? Like, absolutely not. Sit down, sir. Yeah, he was trash.
I said all of the walkers just because, like, first off, okay, Marcus, if you are getting hung up on your twin sister's fiance, I understand that might be stressful for you and uncomfortable. But then why are you like giving bedroom eyes to her cousin? Like, that is messy. It's just messy.
It's very
also, why are you falling in love with your ex-girlfriend's cousin? Whatever. The whole thing was cousin. Marcus was messy. Messy Marcus.
You already live in a small town, so like any little bit of messiness you're doing is real messy. It's like it's messier than it would be anywhere else.
And at first I was reading it like, oh, Marcus wants to get back together, but then it was like, no, he just wants like a booty call. He's like not even. He was like, we work. No. It's fine.
He's an unserious person.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, so it's not that he's like in love with her. It's just that she's there, and he doesn't have to do any more work. Mm-hmm. And then Lincoln comes in with his one scene being the worst, and then the mama / mayor woman, your future daughter-in-law just broke the fundraising record, which makes you look good as mayor as well, and then you're gonna complain to her about what she didn't do, but Lucy did. Like, damn.
But honestly, but that's not even on your daughter, to be for real, because if your son was about it, then he would have came in like, oh, he bid X amount on Lucy, bet I'm gonna raise stakes 3 times. Right. I got you. Like, that's on your son. Go talk to your son about being a better partner and putting down funds. Go do that. How has that got anything to do with Ursula? That's on your son.
Yeah. So all of them.
Yeah.
Sounds like you raised what was Diddy's term for people? The B word and the A word. Sound like you raised one of them.
I don't even know that. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Join us next week when we resume our reading of Legendborn with chapters 27 through 29. It was so nice to have a nice little like cozy romance little reprieve, but we are going back into the angst and the drama and the danger.
And the demon backbreaking.
The demon blood, the impromptu wash nights. We went right back in there.
Wizard Team is part of the Black Nerds Create Collective. If you want to keep up with our content, you can check out our website at blacknerdscreate.com and follow us on Instagram and Tumblr at Wizard Team Pod and at Black Nerds Create.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.